Okay, right. So let's have a look at the first tutorial. Okay, let's take the first question. A company manufactures and retails clothing. So it's a clothing manufacturer and a retail business. You are required to group the cost which are listed below, the items, the cost items that is listed below and numbered 1 to 20. So from 1 to 20, you can see that the cost items are there uh, into the following classification. You need to classify them. Uh, and there it says that each cost is intended to belong to one of only one classification. So there can be cost item where you feel it may belongs to several, but make sure that choose the most appropriate one out of that. So hence, for one cost item, so there can be only one classification, right? So this classification is concerned, it's about the direct and the indirect. There you have the direct material, direct labor, direct expenses, manufacturing overheads, selling and distribution cost. So basically the non-manufacturing overheads and administrative cost, the non-manufacturing overhead, finance cost, another non-manufacturing overhead, right? So this would be the categories. We have like 7 categories at the moment. And now you are supposed to come up with the suitable classification for these cost items. So since this is a kind of tutorial session, so I would like you to engage more in this. Hence, would like to see that you'll be attempting them. So therefore, better indicate that in your chat. For the first item, what is the appropriate category? For the second one, what is the appropriate category? Likewise, would like to see you are engaging on this, right? So shall we do like that? Okay, so let's get started. The first activity. Give it a try. You can take like so 5 to 10 minutes time and simultaneously indicate your answers in the chat. හරි එහෙම නමුත් අපි විනාඩි 5ක් 10ක් වගේ අරගෙන මේක ඇටෙම්ප් කරමු. එතකොට මුලින්ම cost items 20ක් දීලා තියෙනවා පුතාලට. ටික කියවගෙන යන්න. ඒත් එක්කම ඒකටත් දාලා suitable category එකක් අඳුරගන්න. item 1 එකට මොකක්ද category එක. ඒකට ඔයාලට අවශ්‍ය නම් number එක use කරන්න පුළුවන්. categories වල numbers තියෙනවා. direct material 1, direct labor 2, direct expenses 3 likewise. ඒකට ඔයාලට ඒක indicate කරගෙන යන්න පුළුවන්. For 1, what is the number? 2, what is the number? Likewise, right? So the first one, we may do that together. The lubricant for sewing machine. So this is a kind of manufacturer and retail clothing business. Then what is the appropriate one? The lubricant. So probably you cannot directly identify that, isn't it? So it does not intend to uh, vary in the direct proportion. So usually we take the cost as direct. So if they tend to vary in the direct proportion to the level of activity. So when your output varies, so if you find that a particular cost is changing in a direct proportion, so you call it direct. And the cost that can be directly identified with the cost object. So that's what we basically call the direct cost. But here, that is not the case. The lubricant, so usually we cannot directly identify with the cost object. So hence, but it's still that is manufacturing. So therefore, the suitable category is going to be the manufacturing overhead. So let me use the number that is number 4, right? Number 4. So this is what I expect from you, right? Number 4. Okay, the first one, I have done it for you. So now you can go on with the rest. දැන් attempt කරන්න බලන්න පුතාලා. ටික. So in the meantime, so if you have any questions on the things that you have learned so far, and make sure to uh, bring those concerns out. So whatever the problem that you had encountered during the lectures, and so whatever the areas that you're not comfortable, so make sure that you'll be communicating all these aspects. So during the tutorial sessions, so we are going to address your concern to the maximum possible, because I believe that in a tutorial we have kind of a time, so time to interact compared to the lectures. In the lectures, usually we do not have the much of the time to engage in an interaction. Hence, make the better use out of this time. So whatever the questions that you may have, so better communicate. So then we may try to address those questions during the tutorial as well, right? Especially when it comes to the relevant topics. Say that you have the concerns relating to the chapter 3, then probably when we are taking the tutorial on chapter 3, so we'll be addressing that. So likewise, so you better let me know, then I can focus on those areas in the tutorial. Okay, you can keep on indicating the answers as well. So when you go through the question, yes, simultaneously, you better indicate that, right? Okay, you get number 1. What is that? Number 1. The first one, we are the second one, you believe that it's direct material. Okay, so try them out. Try them out. Give it a try. Okay, CD, it's going to be yes, correct, indicating that it's 6. Yes, very correct. Good. Okay. Right, Huda. So I get to know that the cost assignment lecture still not uploaded. Is that? Have you checked recently? As I got to know that it was uploaded. Okay, so let me check that and let me inform that to the relevant lecturer if it is not there, right? Good. Thank you very much for your feedback. Right, okay. You're done with the second one. So the answer for the second one, yes, very correct. The compact disc for general office computer. So here it mentioned the general office. So therefore, that is nothing to do with the manufacturing. Hence, it must be administration. Yes, very correct. So the second one, I can take administration. So the number is going to be 6. So I may take that number 6. Okay, good. So you have taken that. Good. Most of you have taken the correct answer. Good. Then the third one, the maintenance charges for general office photocopy machine. So what about the item 3? The maintenance charges for general office photocopy machine. Okay, good. Give it a try. Keep on trying. Yes, good. Almost all of you are going the correct. Yes. Yes, that is exactly the case. Good. Appreciated. So again, maintenance charges for the general office photocopy machinery, in the sense, again, it is something to do with the administration, isn't it? It's because the general office. So nothing to do with the manufacturing. Hence, it's a non-manufacturing overhead. The suitable category is, as you have indicated, that is 6. So we can take item 6 over there. Right, good. Then cost of raw materials damaged by a fire. What about the cost of raw materials damaged by a fire? So you have certain raw materials because you are a kind of manufacturing entity, and the materials what you have got damaged due to a fire that was set in your plant or something, yeah, or the warehouse. So what is that? So would that most of you have tried that, appreciated? Most of you have tried that. So it move in the direction 304, 304. Okay. So it seems, yeah, good. It's 304. Okay, good. Right. So here, so there is an important learning outcome. You know, when it comes to the manufacturing account, I would say. So when it comes to a manufacturing account, there we have the direct expenses, or we call it the prime cost and the manufacturing overhead, right? And remember, when it comes to a kind of a material or even labor, so if there is a kind of normal loss, if there's normal loss, yes, that is something that we consider in the manufacturing account. So the normal loss can be there. So if it is relating to the labor, so it can be absorbed to the direct labor. So if there's a normal loss relating to the material, so it can be absorbed to the direct material. But here, when you consider about this loss, it is not a normal loss, right? So the damage that was caused by a fire, it's a kind of abnormal loss. So remember, under any circumstances, we are not going to take this abnormal loss to the manufacturing account. In the sense, it can't be a direct cost, it can't be a manufacturing overhead. Hence, it has to be a non-manufacturing overhead. And if you look for the perfect category, so it must be the other expenses. So it should be put under the other expense. But here in the question, we do not have that category. Hence, I might take it as a new category, right? I might take it as a new category. So remember, this is going to be a kind of other expenses. So it's a mistake. We haven't mentioned that. We haven't provided the category. So have it the other expenses because it's a kind of a abnormal loss. Abnormal loss. Finance cost, but it is something not to do with the financing, isn't it? Good. So when it comes to the finance cost, usually we take the cost what we incur in the process of financing. So when you obtain the financing, whatever the service charges, so whatever the servicing fee that you would incur, like interest, you may have to identify over there, and the transaction cost likewise. So hence, this is a kind of abnormal loss. It does not fit with the administration, selling and distribution, or the finance. Hence, the appropriate category is going to be the other expenses. Other expenses, right? Okay, so we have taken that, the other expenses. So the next one, the interest on bank overdraft. The fifth one, interest on bank overdraft. So you have a bank OD, and there you have paid the interest. Yes, very correct. It's going to be the category 7th. It's a much straightforward one, and you have taken that nicely. And it was, yeah, category, it's going to be 7. So it is the finance cost. Finance cost. Yes, good. Then what about the cost to broadcast music throughout the factory? So what about the cost to broadcast music throughout the factory, right? So in order to give some kind of motivation, so some kind of relaxation, so they thought of broadcasting the music throughout the factory. Yes, so you're going in the correct direction. So it is something to do with manufacturing, but it's not something direct. Hence, it has to be a manufacturing overhead. Good. Appreciate. You have taken it correctly. It's 4. Item for manufacturing overhead. Then you have salaries of security guards. for factory. So usually, so in the factory, there you need to provide the protection, the security. So in that, you had to pay a salary for the security. Yes, so very correct. You're going in the correct direction. Good, good job. So again, there is something to do with the factory. So if there is some sort of bearing to the factory, yes, you can identify it over there. Yes, very correct. Then you have carriage on purchase of basic raw materials. Having purchased these raw materials, so you might have to make arrangements sometimes to take it from the premises of the supplier to the business. So in that, if you incur any cost, it's a kind of a yes, good attempt. Okay, you are going in the correct direction. So if there's such cost, it's a yes, as you indicate, it's a direct cost. Good, good, very correct. So it's going to be a direct material, direct material. Good job, appreciate. Right. Then we have the royalties payable on number of unit of product XY produced. So sometimes for the design of a particular clothing, so you may be taking the design um, from an outside party. In that, you may have to pay a kind of a royalty on that. So it may be based on the number of units that you produce. So if you have to pay the royalty based on the number of units that you produce, yes, as you have very correctly indicated, so it's going to be a kind of direct expense. It's a direct expense. No? It is nothing to do with the material, it is nothing to do with the labor, but it's a other expense and it's direct. So therefore, the suitable category is going to be the direct material. Sorry, direct expenses. So direct one, but nothing to do with the labor or material. But still it is direct, so it fits with direct expenses. Very correct. Then you have the revenue license fee for the delivery vehicles. So you are a kind of manufacturer and retail. So therefore you may be distributing these clothes throughout the country or something. So in that, you need to make sure that you are doing the things so within the provisions of the law. So hence, you are to drive a kind of vehicle, so you need to obtain the revenue license. So the cost, the legal charges that you would incur with that respect, the registration fees or the kind of the revenue license, the legal charge. So it fits with, it's nothing to do with manufacturing, but it's something to do with the kind of yeah, so it's relating to the delivery vehicle, so we can consider it as a selling and distribution cost, as you have indicated. Yes, so it's a selling and distribution cost, you can take it as such. So therefore the appropriate category is going to be the category 5, selling and distribution cost. Good. Then you can see the 11th one, the cost of samples sent to customers. Cost of samples sent to customers. So sometimes, so in order to win these customers, you may have to provide certain samples, and yeah, they need to take the feedback and need to motivate them. Yeah, so it's a kind of marketing tactic. So the marketing tactic, hence, it's something to do with, as you have very correctly indicated, it is item 5 again. Good. Very correct. Good job. Then we have the next one, 12th one, cost of advertising products on television. So not only that, you need to engage in other promotions. So you may be going for advertising. So if you go for this advertising, what about that? So again, it fits with the selling and distribution. Very correct. Good. Then you have audit fees. How about the audit fees? If you take the audit fees, yeah. So it's a kind of legal requirement if you are a public listed entity. So you may have to uh, take the auditing done. So it's a mandatory requirement. You need to get this audit done. So it's a kind of administration related task. So as most of you have indicated, it's a administration related task. So the appropriate category is going to be the sixth one. Sixth one, right? Audit fees is administration related one. So then you have chief accountant salary. What about chief accountant salary? Yes, chief accountant salary. Okay, good. Yes, you are going in the correct direction. Good. Some more. Okay. Yes, very correct. So it's a again administration cost. It's administration cost. It's not something to do with the kind of manufacturing, but it's a more or less an administrative task. It's an administrative task. So the chief accountant. Then you can see the wages of operatives in the cutting department. How about that? Wages of the operatives in the cutting department. Yeah, good. Go in that direction. Yes, very correct. Yes, okay. All right. So most of you consider it as a direct labor. So while some of you consider it as a manufacturing overhead. So what must be the appropriate one? So, you know, when it comes to a kind of direct expense, I told you, usually it tend to vary in the cost tend to vary in the direct proportion to the level of activity. So when your output varies in a direct proportion, your cost tend to vary. But in some instances, you would find that, so when it comes to these wages, so you know, sometimes the wages is being paid on a monthly basis. So without referring that to the number of output. So there are certain organization who would prefer to pay the wages linking to the number of units that a particular manufacturer would, particular employee would produce. So in that instance, so you can undoubtedly recognize it as a direct labor. So because it tend to vary in the direct proportion. But even in a scenario where you find that a particular employee is paid a monthly wage, right? If a wages is paid on a monthly basis, still it's a direct labor. Why is that? So the changing the cost in the direct proportion is not the only criteria that we would consider indirect labor. Apart from that, what is the most important aspect is whether you can directly identify that with the cost object. So whether you can directly identify with the cost object. So, you know, when it comes to the direct labor, in order to convert these fabrics into the cloth, so definitely you need the service of these operatives. So without their kind of involvement, you cannot convert this into the finished good. So therefore, the employees, those who involve in the conversion of inputs into the output is, remember, it's a direct labor. තර අපි කියනවා සාමාන්‍යයෙන් direct expense එකක් ගැන කතා කරනකොට අපි කියනවා ඒකේ තියෙන characteristic එකක් තමයි ඒ cost එක direct cost එක vary වෙනවා direct proportion. දැන් උදාහරණයක් විදිහට අපි ගත්තොත් employees ලා ඉන්නවා අපි employees ලට factory employees ලා යාලට අපි ගෙවන්නේ units ගන්නට. ඒකට යාලා manufacture කරන units ගන්නට අපි cutting department එකේ නැත්නම් sewing department එකේ the packing ඒ වගේ එක එක divisions වල ඉන්න සේවකයන්ට අපි හිතමු අපි ගෙවන්නේ direct proportion එකට කියලා. sorry number of units base කරගෙන කියලා. ඒතකොට එතන අපිට පේනවා අර characteristic එක තියෙනවා මොකක්ද output එක vary වෙනකොට cost එකත් direct proportion එකට vary වෙනවා. එක යුනිට් එකකට රුපියල් 5ක් ගෙවනවා නම් යුනිට් දෙකකට 10යි ඒ විදියට. right? එතකොට ඒක ගොඩක් obvious. හැබැයි සමහර අවස්ථාවල අපි දකිනවා මේ ඔපරේටිව්ස්ලට එහෙම නැත්නම් මේ ඩිපාර්ට්මන්ට් එකේ ඉන්න එම්ප්ලොයිස්ලට අපි ගෙවනවා wages monthly basis. එතකොට අපිට කන්සිඩර් කරන්න පුළුවන් ඒක ඩිරෙක්ට් එකක් නෙමෙයි ඒක මැනුෆැක්චරින් ඕවර්හෙඩ් එකක් කියලා. නෑ. එහෙම වෙන්නේ නෑ. ඒකට මතක තියාගන්න ඩිරෙක්ට් කොස්ට් වල තියෙන වැදගත්ම ලක්ෂණයක් තමයි especially when it comes to the labor. ඒකට labor යම්කිසි labor එකක් involve වෙනවා නම් input එක convert කරන්න output එකට. Right? If a particular labor involves in the conversion process, right? You are taking the fabrics and you are ultimately doing the garments, right? So if in that particular process, if a particular employee involves, so it's a kind of direct labor. So without the support of this cutting department employees, you cannot get the intended output, right? So therefore, their contribution is directly attributable to the cost object. Hence, it's a directly attributable cost. The cost that you can identify directly with the cost object is what we call the direct. Hence, that particular characteristic is there. So hence, I'm going to conclude. So the wages of the operatives, the cutting department, it's a direct one, right? Good. Very good. If you attempt කරන්න තමන්ගේ independent idea එකත් එක්ක එතකොට අපිට ඒවා discuss කරලා මොකක්ද නිවැරදි කියන එක ලබා ගන්න පුළුවන්, right? Good. Hope you have got the concept. Right. Then we have the 16th item, the cost of painting advertising slogans on delivery vans. So you are going to do kind of decoration, I would say, right? Cost of painting the advertising slogans on the delivery vans. So in that, what about that? Yes, it's kind of obvious. Yeah, good. It's about selling and distribution. Very correct. It's about selling and distribution. Good. So it's number 5. Okay. So moving on to 17th. Then what about the wages of the storekeeper in material store? So you're going to pay the kind of salary for the storekeepers in the material store. So what about that? So it's a yes, very correct. It's something to do with manufacturing, but there's no direct relationship with the cost object. Hence, it's a kind of manufacturing overhead. Yes, it's a manufacturing overhead. Unlike the service of the cutting department, packing department, and the sewing department. So here it is kind of more of a general function, but it has a bearing to the manufacturing. Hence, we can consider it as a manufacturing overhead. It's item 4. Good. Then wages of the forklift truck drivers who handle raw materials. You know, within the plant, so within the factory, so you need to carry the raw materials from one location to another. So what about that? Yes, again, it is kind of something to do with the manufacturing, but still you do not find a kind of direct relationship, or it's a kind of a material aspect. So in the process of conversion, take a look raw materials එහා මෙහා කියන එක එතම cost object එකත් එක්ක අපිට directly identify කරන්න බෑ අමාරුයි. ඒත් එක්කම ඒක ඇත්තටම මේක significant task එකකුත් වෙන්නේ නැහැනේ. මේ conversion process එකේදී raw material finished goods වලට convert කරද්දී forklift driver who takes the raw materials everywhere throughout the factory is not going to be a kind of material one. So hence it's more or less a manufacturing overhead. Good. Then you have the cost of launching a new product in the market. So what about launching a new product in the market? Yes, again, pretty straightforward. Good. Selling and distribution cost. Almost all of you have taken it correctly. Good. So it's number 5. Final one, what about the royalty payable on number of units of product XY sold? Okay, little conscious, you need to be little conscious. The royalty payable on number of units of product XY sold. What is that? You need to be conscious. We had something similar to this in 9th as well, the 9th item, but it's slightly different from that. Yes. Royalty payable on number of units of product XY sold. Yes, most of you are going in the correct direction. Yes, while some of you believe that it's not. So if I go back to the item 9, you can see that the royalty payable on number of units produced. So if it is the case, then it is a direct expense. But here, the royalty is payable on the number of units sold. If the royalty is payable on the number of units sold, it is something to do with selling and distribution, right? It's a sales related cost. So it depends on the number of units that you sold, right? If a royalty is payable on the number of units sold instead of produced, so it's a kind of a selling and distribution cost. So we consider it as a selling and distribution. So therefore, the correct classification is going to be the item 5. It's an item 5, right? If it is on number of units produced, yes, definitely it's a direct expense. But if it is the number of units sold, so it's a more or less the selling and distribution cost. It's like a sales commission. So usually you would be paid out of the number of units that you sell. So your basis is the sale. So therefore here also, when you look at the basis of the royalty payment, so it's more or less the sales. So if it is based on the sales, then it has to be a selling and distribution cost, right? Okay. So likewise, we managed to come up with the appropriate classification. Good. So you have given a good attempt over there, so that almost all of you have taken everything correct, and there were some exceptions. So, but still believe that now you have refined your thinking, and now you have got into the correct classification, right? Okay. So do you have anything to question on this? So anything that you want to get clarified? So any of these items that you are not comfortable with? So if you're not feel comfortable with the classification of any of these items, yes, you can raise that. So then I can further explain. Right. So hope you're fine. Then let's move on to the second activity. Let's see what is that. So you can see that you are given 7 items, right? You are given actually 7 scenarios. 7 scenarios are being provided, right? For the relevant cost data in item 1 to 7, indicate which of the following is the best classification, right? So you are given different cost classification like sunk cost, fixed cost, controllable cost. Likewise, you can see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 categories are there, right? The 9 types of cost categories. Then having given 7 scenarios, the expectation is that you need to come up with the correct or the most suitable. You might feel that again, like in the previous case, there may be more than one category that is suitable, but out of that, you need to find the most suitable one. The most suitable category you need to come up with. මේකට වඩා සුදුසුම category එක අඳුරගන්න. Let's look at the first one together. So as we used to do, a company is considering selling an old machine, right? So you are now considering to sell one of the or dispose one of your old machines. Then you found that the machine has a book value, or we call it the carrying amount. The machine has a carrying amount of 200,000. In evaluating the decision to sell this machine, what about this 200,000? What is that? What kind of cost is that? So if you are evaluating your decision that you have decided to get rid from that, you thought of disposing that. So in that decision, what this 200,000 is? What is that? So it's going to be yes, good. So I would like to see more attempts. Yes, good. Very correct. Very correct. Yes. So yes, you are going in correct direction. Okay. Okay. Yeah, good. Yes, most of you have taken it correctly. So when you are taking a decision now, the cost that you cannot affect by a decision that you take in the present or future, the decision that you make in the future. So the cost that you cannot affect, and we call it sunk cost, right? Sunk cost. So therefore, the correct classification is going to be the classification A, right? So when you are making a kind of decision, so in the decision making scenario, if you find that you cannot affect a particular cost that you had, especially that you had incurred in the past, or especially that you had committed in the past, it's a sunk cost. දැන් අපි sunk cost එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ අපි දැන් තීරණයක් ගන්න වෙලාවේ decision එකක් ගන්න වෙලාවේ අපිට බලපෑමක් කරන්න බැරි cost එකක් නේ, the cost that we cannot affect, the cost that we cannot influence. බලපෑමක් කරන්න බැරි එක, especially it is something that we had incurred in the past. එක්ක අපි ඒක අතීතයේ දරලා තියෙනවා, එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි ඒකට commit වෙලා තියෙනවා අතීතයේ. දැන් උදාහරණයක් විදිහට අපි හිතුවොත් අපි agreement එකට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා, අපි හිතමු යම්කිසි property එකක් occupy කරන්න, building එකක් occupy කරන්න අවුරුද්දකට. So that is the agreement. So if the agreement says that you cannot breach this agreement, the agreement එකේ තියෙනවා නම් under any circumstances අපිට breach කරන්න බෑ මේ agreement එක කියලා for a period of 1 year, අවුරුද්දක් යනකම් කොයිම තත්ත්වයක් යටතේවත් මේ agreement එක වෙනස් කරන්න බෑ කියලා තිබුණොත්, ඒත් අපි හිතමු මාස 6ක් ගියපු දැන් මාස 6ක් ගියපු තැන අපි ඩිසිෂන් එකක් ගන්නවා නම් අපි වෙන ප්‍රොපර්ටි එකකට මූව් වෙනවා කියලා. ඒත් අපි දන්නවා ඉදිරි මාස 6ට අපි ගෙවන්න ඕනේ අපි හිතමු මාසෙකට 30000ක් නම් 30000 into 6, 30000 into 6, 180,000. 1,80,000. ඒතකොට 1,80,000 අපේ sunk cost එකක් වෙනවා. මොකද ඒකට අපි commit වෙලා තියෙනවා. As per the agreement, we have agreed in the past that we'll be occupying this property at least for a period of 1 year. Right? එතකොට අපි මාස 6කට පස්සේ අපි move වෙනවා කියලා decision එක ගත්තත්, එතකොට අපිට ඉස්සරහට අර ගෙවන්න තියෙන 1.80ම අපි ඒක sunk cost එකක්. අපි commit වෙලා ඉවරයි. So we have committed in the past, or sometimes we have incurred that cost in the past. So here, so it's a cost that you had incurred in the past. So therefore, it's not something that you can affect in a decision that you are taking in the present. වර්තමානයේ අපි ගන්න තීරණයකින් බලපෑමක් කරන්න බෑ. So therefore, the appropriate category, yes, you are correct. That is A. Okay, fine. So likewise, would like to see you are attempting the rest. The second one, what about that? The second one, as an alternative to the old machine, the company can rent a new one, right? එතකොට විකල්පයක් විදිහට අපිට තියෙන දැන්ට තියෙන පැරණි යන්ත්‍රය වෙනුවට අපිට පුළුවන් අලුත් එකක් rent කරන්න. It will cost rupees 30,000 a year. In analyzing the cost volume behavior, the rental is what? Right? You need to be conscious. It refers to the cost volume behavior, right? It gives you a particular direction. What is that? Good, good. Attempt is appreciated. Okay, good. Go in the correct direction. Okay, good. Okay. Right. Good. Okay. So here the only thing that you need to focus the most is it's about the cost volume behavior. So if you are to classify the cost based on the cost volume behavior or the cost behavior of the cost, you can have only four types of cost. What is that? If it is to something to do with the behavior, then it can be a variable cost or it's a fixed cost, semi-variable cost or semi-fixed cost. So therefore you have to locate your answer within these four items because the question specified that in analyzing the cost volume behavior, the rental is what? It's a yes. So you know it's going to be the rent. So it's a fixed one. So based on the behavior, it's a fixed cost. So therefore the appropriate category is going to be the B. So therefore you need to give full attention to the question and especially each and every word. So here the keyword is the cost volume behavior, right? If you had noticed that, so you can have a kind of clear decision. You could have taken a clear decision. So some of you have taken it as an opportunity cost. No, it's the opportunity cost is how we define that. It is the cost of the best alternative that you uh, give up, the cost that involves in the best alternative. So here it has not mentioned. So in that, if it is the opportunity cost, you need to have two alternatives and you need to know the cost of these two alternatives. So when you are selecting a particular alternative, then you need to know what is the cost that you are given now. Say that, so here if it was given that the old machine can be sold for like 40,000 or 20,000 or something, and the new one will cost 30,000 the rent, then out of these two alternatives you can choose the best, something like that, right? Yes, here all two alternatives are there, but you do not know what is the cost of these two alternatives. Only the cost of 30,000 is given. Only the cost of the rent option is given, not the cost involved with the old machine, right? So therefore, so you would have misled by this alternative term, but in the end of the question, it says that in analyzing the cost volume behavior. So the අපි උතල මේක opportunity cost එකක් විදිහට දකින්න ඇති. මෙතන alternative එකක් ගැන කතා කරන නිසා මෙතන ඇත්තටම alternative දෙකක් තියෙනවා. එක්ක old machine එක use කරන එක, එක්ක අලුත් machine එකක් rent කරන එක කියන කාරණාව. එතකොට ඔව් එතන alternative දෙකක් තියෙනවා. එතකොට ඒ alternative දෙකේ අපිට අපි දැනගන්න ඕනේ involve වෙන cost එක. ඒකට එතන තමයි අපිට අඳුර ගන්න පුළුවන් අපි අතාරින විකල්පයේ තියෙන වටිනාකම මොකක්ද? ඒකට ඒක තමයි අපේ opportunity cost එක වෙන්නේ. Right? Good. The third one. To run the firm's machines, here are two alternative course of action. One is to pay the operator a base salary plus a small amount per unit produce. Right? එතකොට ආයතනයක machines තියෙනවා. එතකොට මේ machines operate කරන්න alternatives දෙකක් දකින්නවලු යාලා. එතකොට ඒකෙන් එක alternative එකක්ලු operator base salary එකට ගෙවනවා small amount per unit produced. එතකොට එයාගේ wages, එයාගේ salaries යන්නේ කොහොමද? base salary එකක් තියෙනවා. ඒකට එකතු වෙනවා. තව amount එකක්, small amount එකක්, ඒක based on the number of units produced. So then what kind of cost is that? Yeah. What kind of cost is that? Good, good. Yes, different answers are there. Okay, good, good. So your attempts are pretty much appreciated. So here, if we basically discuss this, you can see that clearly you can see both the fixed cost and the variable cost is involved, isn't it? The fixed cost is that, so there is a base salary. Irrespective of the units that you produce, the cost is involved. Irrespective of the units that you produce, the salary is there. So අපි එක unit එකක්වත් හැදුවේ නැතත් ඒ base salary එක දෙන්න ඕනේ. අපි හිතමු 25000 base salary එකක් තියෙනවා කියලා. මේ machine operator නේ. ඒතකොට ඒ 25000 තියෙනවා. ඒතකොට අපි diagram එකක් ගත්තොත් එතකොට ඒකේ unit 0 එතනත් අපේ cost එකක් තියෙනවා 25000. right? එතකොට ඊට අමතරව අපි හදන unit එකට අපි හිතමු unit එකට 5ක් ගෙවනවා කියලා. එතකොට ඒ number of units එක එතන අපිට පේනවා variable cost එකකුත් තියෙනවා. එතකොට මේ කී තියෙන involve වෙලා තියෙන cost ටික බැලුවාම අපිට පේනවා fixed cost plus the variable cost. එතකොට යම් කිසි instance එක fixed cost සහ variable cost කියන cost වර්ග දෙකම තියෙනවා නම් අපි ඒ වගේ cost එකකට කියනවා semi variable. Remember, it's a semi variable cost, right? ඒක අපි semi variable cost එක. ඒ කියන්නේ correct item එක තමයි item E. ඊට පුතාලා semi fixed කියලා අරගෙන තිබුණා මම දැක්කා. ඊට පුතා remember semi fixed කියන්නේ semi fixed එක ඇතුලේ ඒකට අපි කියන තව නමක් තමයි step fixed කියන එක. ඒකට semi fixed වල variable cost නැහැ. semi fixed වල තියෙන්නේ fixed cost විතරයි. ඒකට ඒක අපි කියනවා step cost එකක් කියලා. අපි හිතමු යම්කිසි ආයතනයක ඒකක 10000ක් නිපදවනකම් අපිට ඇති එක employee කෙනෙක් හිටියනම් එක machine operator කෙනෙක් හිටියනම් ප්‍රමාණවත් ඒකක 10000ක් නිපදවනවා. ඒත් අපි හිතමු යාට අපි 50000ක් ගෙවනවා. හැබැයි අපි ඒකක 10000 ඉක්මවා යනවා නම් අපිට තව machine එකක් ඕනේ. ඒ නිසා අපිට තව machine operator කෙනෙක් ඕනේ. එතකොට අන්න අපේ cost එක next level එකට යනවා. එක්කෙනෙක්ට නම් 50000යි දෙන්නෙක් ගත්තොත් අන්න ලක්ෂයයි. ඒතකොට අපි ඒක diagram එක දැම්මොත් අපිට පේනවා 50000ක් දක්වා ඒකක ඒකක 10000ක් දක්වා 50000යි cost එක ඒකක 10000 exceed කරාට පස්සේ 10000 ඉඳලා 20000ට යනකම් තව 50000ක් තියෙන යනවා අපි ලක්ෂය කියන limit එකට යනවා. එතකොට ඒක step එකක් නේ. 50000 හිටියා ඔන්න අපි ඉහළට ගියා ලක්ෂය කියන level එකට. එතකොට ඒ විදිහට බලපුවාම semi fixed එක තියෙන්නේ සෑම වෙලාවකම fixed cost එකක් විතරයි. right? In the different levels fixed cost එක වෙනස් වෙවි යනවා different levels වලට. අපි fixed cost කියන define කරන්නේ එහෙමනේ. සලකා බලන එකක මට්ටමක් තුල නොවෙනස්ව පවතින පිරිවෙල. ඒක ඒ සලකා බලන එකක මට්ටම වෙනස් වුණොත් ඒ ධාරිතාව වෙනස් වුණොත් සලකා බලන ධාරිතාව වෙනස් වුණොත් එතකොට අපි දන්නවා cost එක next level එකට යනවා. එතකොට remember semi fixed කියන්නේ fixed cost විතරයි තියෙන්නේ. semi variable කිව්වොත් fixed cost සහ variable cost දෙකම තියෙනවා. සමහර පුතාලා semi fixed කියලා ගන්න නැත්තේ ඒ understanding එකකින් ඒකේ variable උත් ඇති කියලා. නමුත් දැන් පුතාලා දන්නවා the semi fixed no variable cost is involved. ඒක ඇතුලේ variable cost එකක් නැහැ. right? good. So let's look at yes, the fourth one. As an alternative, the firm can pay the operator a flat salary. දැන් අපි අර කතා කරපු alternative දෙකේ තව තියෙන අනිත් alternative එක ගැන මෙතන කතා කරන්නේ. අපි කිව්වා machine එකක් run කරන්න alternatives දෙකක් තියෙනවා. එකක් operatorට base salary plus small amount එකක් ගෙවන එක. අනිත් alternative එක a firm can pay a operator a flat salary. flat salary එකක් ගෙවන්න පුළුවන්. okay? It would then use one machine when volume is low. volume එක අඩුයි නම් අපිට එක machine එකක් භාවිතා කරන්න පුළුවන්. 2 when it expand. 3 during peak periods. එතකොට අපි use කරන machine ගාන අපේ තියෙන volume එකත් එක්ක අපි change කරගෙන යනවා. This means that the total operator cost would now be what? එතකොට operators ලට අපි flat salary එකක් ගෙවන්නේ. එතකොට අපි expand කරගෙන ගියොත් yes. එතකොට peak period එකක් වෙනකොට අපි machines තුනක් භාවිතා කරනවා. එතකොට අපිට operators ලා 3 දෙනෙක් ඕන වෙයි. එතකොට flat salaries තුනක් involve වෙනවා. එතකොට 2 machine නම් operators ලා දෙන්නයි. එතකොට එතන salary එක double වෙනවා. එකක් නම් එක machine එකක් නම් එක operator කෙනයි. එතකොට එතන එයාගේ flat salary එකක් තියෙනවා. yes, very correct. So that is a classic example of what we have just discussed. Very correct. It's a semi-fixed. Different levels. Semi-fixed. Very correct. Good. Then question item 5. The machine mentioned in 1. So අපි පළවෙනි එකේ mention කරපු machine එක අර book value එක 200,000 තියෙනවා කියන machine එක could be sold for 80,000. ඒ machine එක ඔන්න 80,000කට විකුණන්න පුළුවන් කියලා හොයාගෙන තියෙනවා. If the firm consider retaining and using it. ආයතනයේ හිතුවොත් මේ කියන machine එක අපි පවත්වාගෙන අකණ්ඩ ව්‍යාපාරය යොදවනවා කියලා මොකක්ද මේ 80,000? What is 80,000? Yes, so that some of you have attempted. Good. Yes, I'd like to see more attempts. Okay, good, good. Okay, right. Okay, good, good. Yeah. Yes. So as most of you indicate, it's a, you can see that two alternatives are there. No, as far as this machine is concerned, two alternatives. What is that? One is to sell this machine. The other one is to continue to use it in the operation. To continue to use it in the operation or to sell it. Those are the two alternatives. So out of that, if you pick to continue to use this machine, so there is a cost. And that cost is the, what we call the opportunity cost. Opportunity cost. And විකල්ප දෙකක් තියෙනවා. ඒතකොට අතාරින හොඳම විකල්පය පිරිවැය තමයි අපි කියන්නේ opportunity cost එක කියන්නේ. ඒතකොට sunk cost එකක් වෙනවා පළවෙනි උදාහරණන්නේ. අපි දැන් අපි ගාව machines දෙකක් තියෙනවා. අපි ඒක book value එකක් තියෙනවා 200,000. ඒතකොට ඒක අපි දැන් විකුණනවා කියලා තීරණය කරොත් එතනදී ඒක sunk cost එකක් වුණා book value එක. නමුත් දැන් මෙතන තියෙන්නේ sunk cost එකක් නෙමෙයි opportunity දෙකක් තියෙනවා alternatives දෙකක්. ඒකෙන් අපි එකක් pick කරගන්න යනවා. ඒතකොට එකක් pick කරගත්තොත් ඒකේ opportunity cost එකක් තියෙනවා. Right? If you wish to retain and use it, and then the best alternative that you give up, that is to sell that. Hence, it's a opportunity cost. Yes, your answer is going to be I. Right, good. Then we'll see sixth one. If the firm wishes to use the machine any longer, या व्यापाරයේ machine එකක් තියෙනවා, ඒ machine එක තවදුරටත් භාවිතා කරනවා කියලා හිතුවොත් it must be repaired. ඒක repair කරන්න ඕනේ. අපි දන්නවා machine motor vehicles මේ වගේ දේවල් භාවිතා කිරීමේදී අපි අකණ්ඩව නඩත්තු කටයුතු කරන්න ඕනේ. ඒකට machine එකක් තියෙනවා damage වෙලා තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. If we are to use it, you need to repair it. For the decision to retain this machine, what is repair cost? අපි හිතුවොත් මේ machine එක ව්‍යාපාරයේ දිගටම පවත්වා ගන්නවා කියලා, මේ repair cost එක මොකක්ද? What that repair cost? Okay, okay. Good. So I appreciate. Yeah, but I would like to see more attempts. More attempts. If the firm wish to use the machine any longer, it must be repaired. Take a repair karanda on. Okay, good. Okay, most of you are taking the option. It's a non-controllable cost. It's a non-controllable cost. But I would like to suggest that the appropriate classification is going to be the kind of answer B, that is incremental cost. It's an incremental cost, right? So here, you know, when it comes to this machine, so in fact, you have two options, right? So one is to sell this machine. So one option is to sell this machine. The other option is to repair, sorry, other option is to continue to use this machine. Those are the two alternatives. Out of that, you are taking the option to continue that. So if you take that particular decision, you can see that there's a cost appears. So අපි machine එකේ භාවිත දෙකක් තියෙනවා නේ. එකක් එක්ක අපිට මේක විකුණලා දාන්න පුළුවන්. අනිත් එක අපිට මේක භාවිතා කරනවා කියලා ගන්න පුළුවන්. අපි මේ භාවිතා කරනවා කියන විකල්පය ගත්තොත් අපිට පේනවා එතනදී පැන නගින cost එකක් තියෙනවා. අපි කියන්නේ incremental cost එකක් කියලා විකල්පයට වෙනස් වන පිරිවැය. Right? So therefore it's a kind of incremental cost. ඒතර විකල්පයට මෙතන වෙනස් වෙන පිරිවැයක් තියෙනවා. ඒකට ඒක most suitable category එක වෙන්නේ B. ඒතර පුතාලා consider කරා මේක non controllable cost එකක් කියලා. control කරන්න බැරි. මතක තියාගන්න මේ controllability කියන එක එන්නේ authority එකත් එක්ක. controllable ද නැද්ද කියන එක අපි මෙතන නිකන් අපි කතා කරන normal understanding අපිට හිතෙන පාලනය කළ හැකි පාලනය කළ නොහැකි කියන එක. නමුත් ඒක එතනට එහා ගියපු දෙයක් තියෙනවා මේ controllable සහ non controllable කියන cost එකේ. ඒත් ඇත්තටම එතනදී අදාළ වෙන්නේ something to do with the authority. යම්කිසි පුද්ගලයෙක්ගේ යම්කිසි division එකක තියෙන authority එකත් එක්ක. ඒතකොට ඒ authority එක ඇතුලේ පාලනය කළ හැකිද නොහැකිද කියන එක තමයි අපි ගන්න controllable ද නැද්ද කියන එක. දැන් උදාහරණයක් විදිහට අපි හිතමු යම්කිසි සේවකයෙක් ඉන්නවා. එයා ව්‍යාපාරයේ තියෙන යම්කිසි මැෂින් එකක් සම්බන්ධයෙන් responsible. ඒකට එයාට authority එක තියෙනවා රුපියල් 25000ක් දක්වා එන services මේ මැෂින් එකේ සිද්ධ වෙන යම් damages එක රුපියල් 25000ක් දක්වා යනකම් තියෙන වියදම් දරන්න එයාට තියෙනවා අයිතියක්. එයාට තියෙන authority එකක්. Right? That particular person has the authority to incur repair expenses up to 25000. තොර 25000ට වඩා අඩුවෙන් එන damages ඔක්කොම එයාට කිසිම ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. වෙන කාගේවත් authority එකක් ඕනේ නැහැ. එයාගේ authority එක ඇතුලේ කරන්න පුළුවන්. අපි හිතමු යම් කිසි වෙලාවක එනවා කියලා cost එකක් රුපියල් 50000ක් damage එකක් ආව major damage එකක්. major repair එකක් machine එකට. තොර එතන අන්න අපිට පේනවා අපේ authority එක ඇතුලේ කරන්න බෑ. එහෙනම් ඒ අවස්ථාවේ අපි මේ පුද්ගලයාව සැලකුවොත් එයාට ඒක non controllable cost එකක්. එයාගේ control එක ඇතුලේ නැහැ. So therefore remember when it comes to this controllable and non controllable cost you need to look at it in a context where the authority comes into play. ඒකට ඒක අපි බලන්න ඕනේ hierarchy එක authority එක මේ වගේ කියන කාරණාත් එක්ක. ඒකට යම්කිසි authority එකක් ඇතුලේ කරන්න පුළුවන්ද බැයිද කියන එක තමයි අපි කියන්නේ controllable non controllable කියලා. ඒතර මෙතන අපිට නිකන් අපි just in the lay language අපි නිකන් සාමාන්‍ය භාෂාවෙන් බැලුවොත් අපිට පේනවා ඒක නිකන් පාලනය කළ නොහැකි. නමුත් මෙතන ඇත්තටම in the literature of the costing, the management accounting, the management accounting literature වල මේ controllable සහ non controllable වලට වෙන meaning එකක් තියෙනවා. එතනදී බලන්නේ තියෙන authority එකක් ඇතුලේ you can whether control this or not. Right? Hence, here what is that? It's a incremental cost. The cost that change from alternative to alternative. Right? So in fact, so if you think of disposing this machine, you don't have to incur that repair cost. But if you think of keeping and using it, so you have to repair. So therefore, it's a incremental in nature. Incremental in nature. Right? Hence, would like to suggest that is answer B. Correct answer is answer B. Good. So I appreciate your attempt. Okay. The seventh one, the machine is charged to the foreman. So the one who supervisor, let's say supervisor, a machine is charged to a supervisor of each department at a rate of 30,000 a year. In evaluating the foreman, the charge is what? Now I have provided you the context. I believe that you can easily pick the answer for that. The machine is charged to a supervisor of each department at a rate of 30,000. Machine සම්බන්ධයෙන් supervisor කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා departments වල. ඒතකොට department එකේ ඒ foremanට දීලා තියෙන authority එක to go up to 30,000. So then in evaluating that the foreman evaluate කරද්දී මේ 30,000 කියන එක මොකක්ද ඒක යාගේ controllable cost එකක්. එයාට control කරන්න පුළුවන්. එයාට affect කරන්න පුළුවන් cost එකක්. Yes, very correct. So given the context, you are getting the answer correct. It's a kind of a controllable cost. So now you can understand clearly the controllability and non-controllability is something to do with the authority. ඔයාලට පේනවා දැන් මේ controllability එක non-controllability කියන එක authority එකත් එක්ක යන කාරණා. එතකොට foreman කෙනෙක්ට machine එකක් තියෙනවා. එයා ඒකට responsible. එතකොට එයාට ඒක charge කරලා තියෙනවා කියන්නේ 30,000. එයාට authority එක තියෙනවා 30,000 දක්වා තියෙන වියදම් ඒක වෙනුවෙන් දරන්න. එතකොට 30,000 කියන එක මේ foreman ගේ පැත්තෙන් බැලුවොත් ඒක එයාට controllable cost එකක්. හැබැයි යම් කිසි වෙලාවක repair එකක් එනවනම් අපි හිතුවොත් 50,000ක් කියලා අන්න එයාට ඒක non controllable cost එක. එයාට ඒක control කරන්න බෑ. 30,000ක් දක්වා එන ඒවා එයාට manage කරන්න පුළුවන්. Right? So that's what the meaning. Hope you get that. So if you have any question, yes, we can look into that. ඒක පැහැදිලි නැත්නම් තියෙනවා පුතාලා අපි ඒක බලමු. So the anything that you are not comfortable with. So I believe the key learning what you had over here. So you got clarified certain aspects. The first thing that you exposed to is the sunk cost. And there we agree that sunk cost is a cost that you cannot affect by a decision that you take in the future. අනාගතයේ ගන්න තීරණයකින් වෙනස් කළ නොහැකි පිරිවැයක් තමයි අපි කියන්නේ sunk cost එක. It is either incurred in the past or either you committed in the past. එක්කෝ එක අපි අතීතයේ දරපු එකක් එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි අතීතයේ commit වෙච්චි cost එකක්. So that's the sunk cost. The next most important thing that you learn, it's about the cost volume behavior. If in a given scenario, if it referred to the cost behavior, the appropriate classification would be the fixed, variable, semi-fixed, semi-variable. Then the next most important thing that you learn, it's about the combination of fixed and variable cost. If there's a combination of fixed and variable, we call them semi-variable. Then when it comes to the semi-fixed, it is what we call the step fixed, or it is the it only comprises of fixed cost. So that's the next thing what you learn. Thereafter we consider about the opportunity cost. There we consider about the opportunity cost. It was about when you have two alternatives, if you pick one, so what is the cost of the best alternative that you give up? The next best alternative. Then we discuss about the incremental cost. So that is when you have two options, when you have two alternatives, so the cost that change from alternative to alternative is what we call the incremental cost. So here you have two options, either to use the machine, either to sell it. If you are to use it, you must be repaired. So it's incremental. Then the next thing is that the machine is charged to the foreman. In that you were exposed to the controllability and non-controllability. The controllability and non-controllability is something to do with the authority. So it comes in the authority. If a particular cost is under the authority, yes, it's a controllable one. If a particular cost go beyond the authority, that's a non-controllable cost. And you have requested me to come up with some more examples on incremental cost. Okay. So you can think about so the instance where you have two alternatives. So අපිට හිතන්න පුළුවන් සෑම අවස්ථාවකම විකල්ප දෙකක් තියෙන තත්ත්වයක්. ඒකට මේ විකල්ප දෙකක් අපි සරලව ගත්තොත් විකල්ප දෙකක් තියෙන තත්ත්වයක විකල්පයෙන් විකල්පයට වෙනස් වෙන පිරිවැය. ඒකට ඒක තමයි අපේ අදාළ cost එක කියලා කියන්නේ. ඒකට ඒක තමයි අපේ relevant cost එක. ඒ වගේ දේවල් අපි ප්‍රායෝගික ව්‍යාපාරයක් පැත්තෙන් කල්පනා කරොත් මොනවද අපිට විකල්ප තියෙන්නේ? එකක් ව්‍යාපාරයේ යන්ත්‍රයක් භාවිත කිරීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් විකල්පයක් නේ. එතකොට ඒකෙත් අපිට ගන්න පුළුවන් විවිධාකාරයේ machines තියෙනවානේ. එතකොට එකක් more sophisticated machines තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම ගොඩක් primary simple machines තියෙනවා. එතකොට මේ වගේ අවස්ථාවක අපි මේ cost දෙක compare කරොත් එතකොට මේ cost දෙක සහ ඒකේ maintenance cost කියන එකත් consider කරන්න ඕනේ. එතකොට ඒ aspect එක consider කරපුවාම අපිට එතන තියෙනවා නම් incremental change වෙන විදිහේ දෙයක් අපිට ඒක ගන්න පුළුවන් කියලා. විකල්පයට වෙනස් වෙන පිළිවෙලක් තමයි අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් කියන්නේ incremental cost කියලා, right? controllable cost එකටත් පුතාලා උදාහරණ කියනවා. එතරම් ඉතින් ගන්න තියෙන උදාහරණ තමයි පුතා සෝයම් කිසි අවස්ථාවක ආයතනයක වෙන්න පුළුවන්, පර්සන් කෙනෙක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. එයාට වියදම් කරන්න උපරිම බලය තියෙන තත්ත්ව. දැන් උදාහරණයක් විදිහට අපේ ඉන්ස්ටිටියුට් එක ගත්තොත් අපි යුනිවර්සිටි එක ගත්තොත් යුනිවර්සිටි එකේ තියෙනවා සාමාන්‍යයෙන් expenses වලදී department වල faculties වල expenses වලදී අපි ගත්තොත් dean of the faculty. So dean of the faculty authority එක තියෙනවා අපේ තියෙන යම් expenses, sundry expenses up to 15,000. රුපියල් 15,000ක් දක්වා වෙන වියදම් දැරීමේ බලය තියෙනවා dean of the faculty. faculty එකේ dean ට පුළුවන් රුපියල් 15,000ක් දක්වා තියෙන වියදම් අනුමත කරලා ඒවා අවශ්‍ය විදිහට වියදම් කරනවා. හැබැයි යම් කිසි වියදමක් කියනවා අපි හිතමු රුපියල් 15,000ට වැඩි අපි රුපියල් 50,000ක් වගේ. අන්න එතකොට අපිට යන්න වෙනවා vice chancellor approval එකට. එතකොට vice chancellor තමයි ඒ expense එක approve කරන්න ඕනේ. එහෙම නැත්නම් අපිට ඒක incur කරන්න බෑ. එතකොට අපි බැලුවා dean ගේ capacity එක non controllable cost එකක්. නමුත් vice chancellor capacity එක controllable. හැබැයි cost එක තවත් ඉහළ යනවා නම් ඒ වගේ විවිධ levels of authorities වලට යනවා. ඒකට ඒක තමයි මට ප්‍රායෝගික උදාහරණයක් විදිහට දෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒත් එක්කම අපි ගොඩක් වෙලාවට දකිනවා විවිධ projects වල අපි ගත්තොත් different kinds of projects තියෙනවා. ඒකට මේ projects වලත් ඉන්නවා project director කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා. ඊට පස්සේ එතනින් එහා පැත්තේ තව senior තව different administrative capacities තියෙන කට්ටිය ඉන්නවා. එතකොට මේ director තියෙන්න පුළුවන් authority එකේ මේ project එක සම්බන්ධයෙන් රුපියල් ලක්ෂයක් වියදම් කරන්න. රුපියල් ලක්ෂයක් දක්වා වියදම් එයාට decide කරන්න පුළුවන්, එයාට approve කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඒවට control එක තියෙනවා. හැබැයි යම් කිසි වියදමක් කියනවා නම් ඊට වඩා වැඩි ලක්ෂ 50,000ක් වගේ අන්න එයාට they need to seek the higher capacity. So that's how the controllable and non-controllable cost behave. So therefore the key thing is that it is something to do with the authority. Authority එකත් එක්ක controllable ද නැද්ද කියන කාරණාව තමයි එතන තියෙන්නේ, right? Yes, so that's how it goes. එතකොට මට පුතාලා එක පාර්ට්ම අයිඩියා එකක් ඉන්නේ නැහැ incremental cost එකට. නමුත් එතන තියෙන key concept එක තමයි alternatives දෙකක් තියෙන අවස්ථාවක ඒ alternative එකකින් alternative එකට වෙනස් වෙන cost එක, right? So again, you asked what is the main difference between the semi-variable and semi-fixed. So I told you that in the semi-variable, we have fixed cost as well as variable cost. In the semi-fixed, we have only fixed cost, different levels of fixed cost. එතකොට semi-variable වල තියෙන මම කිව්වා තියෙනවා fixed cost එක සහ variable cost එක. නමුත් semi-fixed වල අපි කිව්වා තියෙන්නේ fixed cost විතරයි, different levels of fixed cost එතන තියෙනවා. එතකොට අපි හිතුවොත් අපි ඒකක 50,000ක් දක්වා නිපදවන්න පුළුවන් මැෂින් එකක් තියෙනවා කියලා. එතකොට අපිට ඒකක 50,000ක් යනකම් මේ මැෂින් එකෙන් නිපදවන්න පුළුවන්. ඒතකොට යම් කිසි අවස්ථාවක අපිට පේනවා නම් ඒකක 80,000ක් අපිට නිපදවන්න ඕනේ කියලා. එතකොට අපේ තියෙන ඔප්ෂන් එක තමයි තව මැෂින් එකක් ගන්න ඕනේ. එහෙනම් ඒකක 50,000ක් දක්වා අපි හිතමු එක මැෂින් එකක් ලක්ෂයයි කියලා. ලක්ෂයක කොස්ට් එක තියෙනවා. ඒක 50,000 එක්සීඩ් කරාට පස්සේ තව මැෂින් එකක් ගත්තාම මේක ලක්ෂ 2ක් වෙනවා. අන්න අපි ලක්ෂ 2 ලෙවල් එකට යනවා. ඒකට ලක්ෂය ගියා ඒකක 50,000යි. ඒක 50,000 පැන්න ගමන් අපි ගියා 200,000. එතකොට ස්ටෙප් එකක් උඩට ගියා. ඒතකොට ඒක step fixed. නැත්නම් අපි කියනවා semi fixed කියලා. Right? Okay, so it's about the kind of cost classification, right? Okay, good. So it's quite good that you're quite interactive. So you're coming up with the questions that you have. So I might try to explain to my level best, right? Okay. So let's move on to the one last question for the day. It's about identification of the product cost and period cost. So you are supposed to identify the product cost and the period cost. And also you've been asked to prepare the statement of profit or loss as well. Right. Uh, Here I would like to suggest that, so in order to figure out the product cost, the easiest way to get this across is to prepare a manufacturing account. So you can prepare a manufacturing account and identify the product cost. The manufacturing account එක හදලා product cost එක identify කරන්න. ඊට පස්සේ අපිට පුළුවන් statement of profit or loss එක හදලා period cost එක figure out කරන්න. Okay. So would like to invite you. You can take like 10 minutes time or 10 to 15 minutes. So I'm even fine. Take 10 to 15 minutes time and try to work out the manufacturing account and also initiate the statement of profit or loss. Okay. So let's give it a try. So let me copy this information. So I'm taking a kind of Excel sheet. Let us get the things copied. But you can prepare a simple manufacturing account that would help in the identification of the period cost, sorry, product cost. So this is manufacturing account. You can take a rough sketch. Right. So there what you have. The direct costs are there. This direct material, first one. Direct material, and then direct labor. Labor is there, and also the direct other expenses if there are any. Direct expenses, with other expenses we call it, and the manufacturing overhead. Right. So this is the basic structure of manufacturing account, as well as let me have a structure of profit or loss. So that will help me to identify periodic cost. So you can say the sales can pull one, then most importantly the cost of sales, then the gross profit, If you have the administrative expenses, then you have the selling and distribution, costs, and finance and other expenses. It's finance and other expenses. Okay, so would like to see that you are putting an effort over there, starting from and also one thing that I would like to help you with, when you are come to decide the selling price, when you come to the selling price, it says that the selling price of a doll is decided by adding 40% of the unit production cost. So having identified the uh, production cost, you need to work out the unit production cost. Having identified that, you need to add 40% to the selling price. And when you are taking this unit production cost, remember, so as business organizations usually do, instead of taking the actual units, it is recommended to use the normal production, right? පුතාල මෙතන පොඩි කන්ෆියුෂන් එකක් එන්න පුළුවන් sales price එක decide කරන්න ගියපුවාම. එතකොට ගොඩක් වෙලාවට ආයතන sales price එක decide කරනකොට cost එක විදිහට ගන්නේ මේ normal production capacity එක තමයි use කරන්නේ. එතකොට ඒකට හේතුව තමයි අපි දන්නවා cost එක අපි actual production එක base කරගෙන යන්න ගියොත් එතකොට අපේ price එක vary වෙන්න පුළුවන්. price එක vary වෙන්න පුළුවන් frequently. එතකොට අපි හිතුවොත් එක කාලච්ඡේදයක අපි එකක 5000ක් නිපදවනවා කියලා. එතකොට එතනදී තියෙන cost එක වැඩි. අපි එකක 12000ක් නිපදෙව්වොත් එතන cost එක අඩුයි. එතකොට යනවා sales price එක අඩු වැඩි වෙනවා. එතකොට sales price එක සාමාන්‍යයෙන් frequently change වෙන එක හොඳ දෙයක් නෙමෙයි. ඒ නිසා ගොඩක් වෙලාවට ආයතන කරන්නේ price එක determine කරද්දී normal production එක තමයි base කරගන්නේ. ඒතර පුතාලාට මෙතන පුළුවන් price එක determine කරන purpose එකට normal production එක base කරගන්න. Right? So that is the one thing that I want to tell you before you proceed. Right, okay. So that's it. Now you can proceed. So take 10 minutes time. So give it a try, some sort of a attempt. And that would be helpful. Right. So since we are running out of time, so I thought that so we may have a look at this together. So those who are continuing, so you can keep working on that and just refer to this, and you may simply keep on doing, right? Okay. The first it says that plastic, it takes 2 kilograms at rupees 50 per kilogram. Cloth requirement 1 meter at rupees 30 per meter. Right. Uh, the machine operators are paid rupees 30 per doll produced plus 4,000 fixed monthly allowance per operator. Number of machine operators 5, supervisor salary is given, number of working days and number of supervisors. It's a kind of monthly situation, no? Yeah, it's a monthly situation. During the month, 10,000 dolls were produced and 8,500 dolls were sold. කාලච්ඡේදය ඇතුලේ dolls 10,000ක් හැදුවලු, ඒකෙන් 8,500ක් වික්කලු. හරි. ඒතර අපි බලන්න ඕනේ materials අපි කොච්චරක් consume කරාද කියන එක. ඒක තමයි වැදගත් දේ. Direct material consume, right? ඒක අපි work out කරොත් අපිට ingredients දෙකක් තියෙනවා. එකක් තමයි plastic. Plastics බැලුවොත් per unit requirement එක it takes 2 kilograms. 1 kilogram will cost you 50, and in order to produce 10,000, so this has to be multiplied by 10,000. මේ 10,000 වැඩි වෙන්න ඕනේ. ඒත් එකයි ඒකකට 50යි එහෙනම් 100යි ඒ වගේ 10,000ක් හදන්න යන්න ඇති cost එක 1 million cost එකක් අපිට යන්න ඇති. ඒත් එකම අපිට we can take the clothes. ඒතර අපිට cloth ගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒතර clothes අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා 1 meter එකක් 30යි අපිට ඒකක 10,000ක් හදාගන්න අවශ්‍යයි. Now 1 into 30 into 10,000 300,000. එහෙනම් අපි ඒක ගත්තා 300,000. ඒතර අපි direct material consume කර ප්‍රමාණය කොච්චරද කියලා බැලුවොත් it's a simple summation of this. ඒතර 1.3 million අපි consume කරා direct material. ඊට පස්සේ අපි එනවා direct labor වලට. So when it comes to this direct labor, it says that machine operators are paid 30 per doll plus 4,000 fixed monthly allowance. So it's basically a semi-variable cost. Semi-variable cost එකක් තියෙනවා. And number of machine operators like ඉන්නවා 5ක්. Right? එහෙනම් එතන fixed cost එක යන්න ඕනේ 4,000 per operator into 5, 20,000 per doll 30,000. 30 pay කරනවා. ඒතකොට 10,000 වලට 10,000 into 30. ඒතර අපි direct labor work out කරොත් ඒතර තියෙනවා 30 into 10,000 plus 4,000 into 5. ඒතර මේ වගේ cost එකක් අපිට එනවානේ. ඒතර අපි ගත්තොත් direct labor it's simply 30,000 30 into 10,000 plus 4,000 into 5. There it comes 320,000. Total අපි direct labor එක 3,20,000. So there it's we have a supervisor. So as far as the supervisor salary is concerned, it's going to be a kind of overhead, right? It's an overhead. So they do not directly involve with the conversion like the machine operators, but it's a kind of supervisory role. So therefore, let's take supervisor salary. Supervisor salary is going to be 1,000 per working day. There are like 25 working days, and also one operator is there. Only one sorry, not operator, supervisor. 1,000 into 25, that is into 1, it's 25,000. So this is the supervisor's salary. Consider. Then it says the design is outsourced and designers are paid rupees 2 per each doll. So it's about the direct expenses. Rupees 2 per each doll. There are like 10,000 dolls. So it is into 2 into 10,000, 20,000. Then it says machinery maintenance 45,000. So it is maintenance, manufacturing overhead, it's 45,000. 45,000 taken right. Okay. The purchase of materials is there, but so there is no point of working this out and taking the purchases and thereafter deducting the closing inventory and thereby identifying the kind of what do you call identifying the closing inventory. That is need not. So simply you can work out what do you call the raw materials, direct material consumed. පුතාලට මතක ඇති manufacturing account එකක් හදනකොට අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් කරනවා purchases ගන්නවා. purchases වලින් closing inventory අයින් කරනවා. closing raw materials අයින් කරාට පස්සේ තමයි direct material consumed ගන්න. ඒතර මෙතන අපිට එහෙම අපස්ථාවයක ලක් වෙන්න විදියක් නැහැ. කෙලින්ම එකපාරම direct material consumed කියපු එක හොයාගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒතකොට ඒ නිසා අපිට ඒක පහසුවෙන් කරගන්න තියෙද්දි අවශ්‍ය නැහැ බොරුවට purchases අරගෙන ඒකෙන් closing inventory අයින් කරලා මේ උත්තරයට එන්න. එහෙම කරත් වැරද්දක් නැහැ. නමුත් ඒක අනවශ්‍ය effort එකක්. Because the important thing is direct material consumed. There was no opening inventory of raw materials and finished goods. Opening inventory නැහැ. Finished goods වලත් opening inventory නැල්ලු. Assume that there are no opening and closing work in progress උත්නතිලු. Distribution cost තියෙනවා 30,000. Distribution cost 30,000. This is distribution cost. Cost 30,000 is there. Stationery expenses and general administration office 3,000. Stationery and general administration. Stationery and general admin. So there you have 3,000 over there, and other administration 15,000. It's other administration 15,000. But you took those costs as well. First ටිකත් අපි ඔන්න ගත්තා 50,000 3,000 30,000. So what else? Yes, that's it, no? ඒ ටික විතරයි තියෙන්නේ. එමුනම් අපිට පුළුවන් work out කරන්න prime cost එක. You can work out the prime cost. So it's simply the summation of the direct material consumed, the labor, and the direct expense. So it's going to be like 1.64 million or something. So $1.64 million. So once you add the manufacturing overhead, you come up with the cost of goods manufactured during the period. කාලච්ඡේදය තුල නිම කළ භාණ්ඩවල පිරිවැය අපිට එනවා. The cost of the goods manufactured during the period. ඒ කීයද? You can simply add the manufacturing overhead, and that's going to be 1,710,000. Million එකයි 710යි. Then what is this? Then make it මොකක්ද කියන්නේ? Cost of the goods that you manufacture during a period. What is that? This is what we call the production cost. මේකට තමයි අපි කියන්නේ දාලා production cost එක කියලා. ඒකට question එකේ අහලා තිබුණා production cost එක කීයද කියලා. එහෙනම් ඔන්න අපි හොයාගත්ත production cost එක. The cost of the goods that you manufacture is 1,710,000. දැන් ඔන්න මේ ප්‍රශ්නෙට answer එක හොයාගත්තා. ඒකට අපි manufacturing account එකක් හදන්න කියලා නෙමෙයි කිව්වේ. production cost එක කීයද කියලා හොයන්න කියලා. ඔන්න අපි ඒක හෙව්වා. So it is pretty much straightforward නේ. ඒක ගොඩක් straightforward. එතකොට මේ cost එක අපි දන්නවා ඒකක 10000ක් හදන්න ගියපු පිරිවෙන. එතකොට අපිට ඕනේ ඊළඟට sale එක හොයාගන්න cost of sales හොයාගන්න. එතකොට මුලින්ම අපි cost of sales හොයාගමු. කොහොමද cost of sales හොයාගන්නේ? එතකොට අපිට පුළුවන් so let's work out the cost of sales. මොකද අපි කරන්න ඕනේ? production cost එක තියෙනවා. production cost එක අපි බෙදමු number of units. කීයද? 10000යි. එකක අපි හැදුවා 10000. 10000කට තමයි මිලියන 1.71 ගියේ. එතකොට කීයද වික්කේ? 8500. 8500ක් වික්කලු. එහෙනම් 8500න් multiply කරමු. එතකොට එනවා අපිට 1.453යි 500ක්. එහෙනම් ඒක තමයි අපේ cost of sale එක. cost of sale එක. right? එතකොට අපිට per unit එකට cost එක ආවා 171ක් වගේ. ඒක 171 වැඩි කරපුවාම තමයි අපිට ආව cost of sale එක නේ. 1,710,000 divided by 10,000 units. 171 8500න් multiply කරපුවාම තමයි අපිට මේ answer එක එන්නේ නැත්තේ. සරලවම ගත්තොත් නේ. okay. එහෙනම් තමයි ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ. එතකොට මෙතන ආවේ per unit cost එක based කරලා 10,000 unit. ඒක okay cost of sale එක ගණනය කරන්න. So when you are calculating the cost of sales and the closing inventory, ඒක okay. හැබැයි selling price එක determine කරද්දී මම කිව්වා සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අපි actual production එක base කරලා යන්නේ නැහැ. right? මොකද මම කිව්වා adverse fluctuations තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. right? The question එකේ පුතාලා ගත්තත් කමන්නේ when deciding the selling price you need to use the normal production කියලා. එහෙම නැත්නම් සාමාන්‍ය normal production එක දීලා තියෙන වෙලාවක අපි consider කරන්නේ sales price එක determine කරන්න normal production එක. ඒකට හේතුව තමයි අපි actual production එක මත පදනම් වෙලා ගියොත් මම කිව්වා සමහර periods වල අපි 5000ක් හදනවා, සමහර ඒ වගේ 12000ක් හදනවා. ඒතර මේ වගේ දේවල් වලදී variable cost එකේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. හැබැයි fixed cost වලදී ඒක විශාල ගැටලුවක්. මොකද ඒකක 10000ක් යදුවොත් 10000 අතර බෙදලා යන fixed cost එක 5000ක් යදුවොත් 5000 අතර බෙදලා යන්නේ යන cost එක විශාල වශයෙන් වෙනස් වෙන්න පුළුවන් actual production එකත් එක්ක ගියොත්. ඒ නිසා සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අපි sales price එක decide කරනකොට normal production එක තමයි use කරන්නේ. ඒ අනුව මම ගන්නම් දැන් selling price determination purpose එකට පමණක් අපි අපේ production cost එක divide කරනවා කීයෙන්ද 9000යි 10000 නෙමෙයි 9000යි. එතකොට අපිට එන්නේ cost එක per unit cost එක 190. ඒකට අපිට කියනවා තියාගන්නලු margin එකක් 40% at 40%. එහෙනම් අපි sales price එක ගමු කට multiply කරන්න 1.4. ඒ කියන්නේ 266. 190ක් කියන්නේ 100 නම් 140ක් කියන්නේ කීයද? මේක ලේසියෙන්ම ගන්න පුළුවන් 190 multiplied by 1.4. 266. 266. එහෙනම් මේ භාණ්ඩේ විකුණු මිල 266යි. 266 ගානේ 8500ක් වික්කා. ඒ අනුව අපිට gross profit එකක් ඒ වෙනස ඒකෙන් ඉතුරු cost ටික අඩු කරපුවාම අපේ profit එකේ profit for the period. Yes, the profit is going to be how much? දාබලා හදන්න කිව්ව නිසා අපි ඒක හැදුවා. profit එක එනවා 759,500. එතකොට එක question එකක් තිබුණා production cost එක කීයද කියලා හොයාගන්න. ඒක අපි හොයාගත්තා. ඊළඟ එක තිබ්බ period cost එක කීයද කියලා. එතකොට මම පුතාලා ඇහුවා period cost එක කීයද? How much is the period cost? This is pretty much important in case of your exams. So this has continuously being tested. So therefore you must be pretty much clear with the period cost and the product cost. The product cost is the cost that you incur to manufacture a product. So it is 1.71 The period cost is the cost that you charge as an expense for the period. කාලච්ඡේදයේ වියදමක් විදිහට අපි හඳුනා ගන්න පිරිවැය. ඒතර සරලවම කිව්වොත් අපි administration expenses, selling and distribution, finance and other expenses කියලා charge කරන දේවල් ටික. ඒතර මෙතන තියෙන ඒ වගේ items තුනක්. ඒතර අපි ඒක consider කරොත් ඒ ටික තමයි අපේ period cost එක. Period cost එක එතකොට 48000යි. Right? Remember that's going to be 48,000. මේක ගත්තේ කොහොමද? 3000ට 15000ක් එකතු කරා. ඒකට එකතු කරා 30000. කාලච්ඡේදයේ වියදමක් විදිහට අය කරන දේවල් තමයි අපි කියන්නේ period cost එකක් කියලා. question එකක් තියෙනවා. So please explain again how to get the selling price. Okay. හරි අපි selling price එක ගත්ත විදිය අය පාරක් බලමු. ඊට පස්සේ අපි කිව්ව sales price එකක් හඳුනා ගන්නකොට අපි actual production එක base කරන්නේ. ඒතකොට actual production එක base කරගත්තා නම් අපි දන්නවා ඒකක පිරිවැය 171යි. නමුත් සාමාන්‍ය ව්‍යාපාර ආයතන normal production එක මත base කරලා තමයි ඒකක පිරිවැය හඳුනගන්නේ. ඒතකොට ඒකක කීයක් තියෙනවද? production cost එක ඔක්කොම 1,710යි. එතකොට normal production එක 9000යි. ඒකෙන් divide කරොත් ඔන්න ඒකකයේ පිරිවැය 190. ආයතනයේ policy එක මොකක්ද? sales price එක decide කරන්නේ පිරිවැයට 140ක් එකතු කරලා. ඒකට අපි ගත්තොත් sales formula එක පුතා ගන්නවා selling price එක equal වෙනවා cost. sales formula එක තමයි සෑම වෙලාවකම cost plus profit equal selling price කියන කාරණාව. cost plus profit selling price. එතකොට මේක තමයි සෑම වෙලාවකම sales formula එක. The selling price of a doll is decided by adding 40% on the unit production cost. Cost එක 100ක් නම් profit එක වෙනවලු 40ක්. එනවා selling price එක වෙනවා මේ දෙක එකතු 140. එහෙනම් 190 කියන්නේ cost එක 190 stand for 190 stands for 100. Then what is 140? එහෙනම් 140 කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? ඒක එතකොට 266. 266 8500 වැඩි කරපුවාම විකුණුම ආවා. 266 8500 වැඩි කරලා තමයි විකුණුම ගත්තේ. cost of sales ගත්තේ කොහොමද? ඒක බොහොම පහසුයි. 1.1000 සංඛ්‍යාවලින් තියෙන හිතන 1710 බෙදුවා අපි ඒකක 10000න් වැඩි කරා 8500 10 සංඛ්‍යාවලින් තිබ්බේ. එතකොට තමයි මේක supervision cost, machine maintenance cost are not change. Is not then that means we can use the normal production units to calculate the manufacturing account. No පුතා. normal production එක අපි use කරන්නේ for the purpose of determination of the sales price, right? So the manufacturing cost එක production cost එක අපි divide කරන්න cost of sales සහ closing cost of sales සහ finished goods අතර බෙදලා අරින්න අපි භාවිතා කරේ actual amount එකමයි. ඒක තමයි මෙතන කරේ. ඒක දාලා දැන් අවසාන වශයෙන් production cost එක බෙදලා යන්නේ එකක් cost of sales වලට යනවා අනිත් එක යනවා finished goods වලට නේ. ඔය දෙකනේ වෙන්නේ. අපි ගත්තොත් production cost එකට මොකක්ද අවසාන වශයෙන් වෙන්නේ කියන එක. කොටසක් යනවා cost of sales වලට අනිත් එක යනවා finished. yes පුතා. එතකොට ඉතුරු කොටස ඔන්න 10000ක් හදපු එකෙන් 8500 විකුණුවා නම් 1500ක් ඉතුරු වෙන්නේ. ඒ ටිකේ cost එක කීයද කියලා බැලුවොත් ඔන්න එතකොට මේක තමයි අපේ finished goods වල cost එක. එතකොට ඒක අපිට අවශ්‍ය නැහැ. මට just පෙන්නන්න ඕනේ production cost එක අවසාන වශයෙන් cost of sales වලට සහ finished good එකට යනවා කියන කාරණාව. එතනදී අපි use කරේ මතක තියාගන්න actual cost එක. right? නමුත් sales price determination purpose එකට විතරක් අපි normal production එක use කරා, right? Did not consider product cost for the period cost, production cost for the period cost. So I will upload this to the LMS. Production cost කියන එක පුතා, production cost කියන්නේ the cost that we incur to manufacture a product එකක් manufacture කරන්න. එතකොට අපි manufacturing සරලව ගත්තොත් manufacturing account එකට charge කරන දේවල් තමයි අපි කියන්නේ production cost එක. ඒකට යනවා 1.710ක් ආවා. ඊට පස්සේ period එකේ වියදමක් විදියට charge කරන දේවල් අපි කියනවා කෙලින්ම ඇතිවන අවස්ථාවේ වියදමක් විදියට charge කරන දේවල් වලට අපි කියනවා product cost. sorry period cost කියලා. ඒකට ඇතිවන අවස්ථාවේ වියදමක් විදියට සැලකුවේ stationery cost, other administration cost, distribution cost. ඒකට ඒ වගේ දේවල් අපි කියන්නේ generally expenses නේ. ඒකට ඒ දේවල් තමයි අපි කියන්නේ period cost එක කියලා. ඒකට පුතා confusion එකක් ඇත්තේ මේ production cost එකනොත් අපි අවසාන වශයෙන් කොටසක් cost of sales කියලා P&L එකට charge කරා. එතකොට මේ කොටසත් period cost එකක් වෙනවද කියන එක. ඒක සාමාන්‍යයෙන් common misconception එකක් පුතාගාව තියෙන මතක තියාගන්න. එහෙම වෙන්නේ නැහැ. දැන් එහෙම වෙනවා නම් production cost කියලා concept එකක් තියෙන්න බෑ. මොකද කවදා හරි දවසක මේ හදන බාහන ටික ඔක්කොම විකිනෙනවා. ඒ හදන බාහන ටික ඔක්කොම විකුණාම මේ දේවල් ඔක්කොම අවසානයේ period cost එකක් වෙනවා. right? ඒ නිසා ඒකට production cost කියලා concept එකක් තියෙන්න බෑ. ඒක confuse කරගන්න එපා. මේ cost එක ඇති වෙන වෙලාවෙම අපි ඒක P&L charge කරනවා නම් ඒක අපි කියනවා period cost එකක්. The cost that we charge as expense to the period is the period cost. The cost that we charge to the manufacturing account or the cost that become part of the cost of goods manufactured is a production cost. So පසු අවස්ථාවක මේ භාණ්ඩ විකුණපුවාම yes it is true ඒක වියදමක් වෙනවා. නමුත් ඒකට අපි කියන්නේ නැහැ මේ period cost එකක් කියලා. ඒකට අපි period cost එකක් කියන්නේ. Period cost කියන්නේ cost that we charge straight away to the P&L as expense. In simple word, administrative, selling and distribution, finance and other expenses. Right? So මම මේ කොටස පුතාලට අප්ලෝඩ් කරන්නම් LMS එකකට. ඒකට පුතාලට ඒක refer කරන්න පුළුවන්. Right? Yes, good that so you're quite good. So I thought that so I have managed to clarify your most of the kind of questions that you had. And then yeah. So hope I address almost all of your questions, right? Okay, good. So thank you very much for your active participation. That is pretty much appreciated. So I would expect the same. So in the weeks to come. So the next week tutorial is going to be pretty much important. It's on the ABC as well as what do you call that? The traditional absorption costing. So therefore your participation is pretty much required, right? Okay, then so with that note, let's finish the discussion. So I'll be uploading the recording as well as the lecture, the working paper what we have chosen, right? Then thank you very much. So see you in the next class.